The UK has got the opportunity to really lead the global stage, prioritise the most important tasks, compelling content, help employees navigate what matters most. This is creating lots of exciting new possibilities. Paul, it's great to have you here today. Thanks so much for joining us at the Microsoft Technology Centre, where lots of innovation takes place. And on the topic of innovation, you're one of the first firms globally, one of the legal firms, in using Microsoft 365 Copilot and Viva, and you were also just sharing about your work on security Copilot. So can you share a bit more about that?
Sure. Law firms don't always have the reputation of being leading edge in technology, but when it comes to text and documents, we are, I think, leading edge because that's our business. So when technology comes along that it allows us the potential for massive productivity gains in dealing with large amounts of text-based information, we're very interested. So from the beginning of this AI journey, we've been profoundly interested in where it's going and wanting to be in GPT-4 and with a few tweaks in there to send some of the queries to other services. But people started using it, finding value in it, but it was a learning process. And one of the things we found was, for example, people were doing things like using it to create Excel queries, because not everyone's an Excel expert. And we thought, well, actually, wouldn't it be better if you could just do that in Excel? You could add the natural language. So when Copilot came along, it just seemed the logical next step for us. So we've been very interested to be one of the very early adopters of Copilot. So from the beginning, we can see an opportunity there. And particularly, we've got big growth aspirations as a firm. And if we can grow the firm without adding a great deal of cost, that will be tremendous. We've been really interested by how people are going to use it. I don't any of us know the final destination of these tools, but it's been very interesting to see what's happened so far. And it's gone, as we talked about before, I think, it's gone from some very prosaic type use cases, which is particularly for people whose first language isn't English. Just being able to have the reassurance of someone putting it into perfect English for you is so liberating for people, through sort of medium-sized things where lawyers spend a lot of time organising information in different ways, if I can put it that way. The type of information, how you organise it, will vary according to the type of work, but there's a lot of time spent organising information, which is important, detailed work, but isn't the most exciting thing for a top lawyer to be doing. It needs to be done. If we can liberate some of the burden of that, so they're really applying the judgment of supervising an AI tool to do some of that organisation of information, that doesn't just improve productivity, it makes their lives more rewarding, it makes their careers more interesting, and hopefully just improves their lot and makes people want to work for a firm like Clifford Chance.
So Paul, what have you found the most benefit to you personally? You have to be a pioneer in this technology. What have you found?
Just to be able to ask Copilot that you can take a bunch of statements of different facts and put it into one timeline so quickly in the space of a few seconds, which would have been hours and hours of work.
Innovation's always been something I think that you wanted to try and be at the cutting edge. But if you sort of take a step back for all of the AI innovation you're doing, what are some of the most exciting use cases you think, still early days, but what you see emerging?
So we've been quite surprised by how developed some of the achievements have been. So for example, one of the use cases we've seen are people getting different sources of information and turning that into a single timeline of events.
Oh, for preparing for a case or something.
Exactly, which is one of the first things you have to do. Being able to do that automatically at the almost press of a button is a tremendous.
Wow, that's liberating time right there.
Exactly. And what we've seen is both top-down innovation and bottom-up innovation. So we've seen some of the business leaders say, well, here's an area, take for example due diligence in M&A, we might want to apply artificial intelligence to improve the efficiency of that process. And from the bottom up, we've also seen people developing their own use cases like that, saying, well, actually, here's something I've done. And we've been asking people, how do you rate the time saving, including the time you spend checking it? And some of the percentages are coming out very high in terms of the actual time saved. I mean, I think they're ranging from 50% all the way up to 90% time saving for some of these tasks, including the time spent checking, because we always check everything.
And I'm guessing that that's going to change the shape of work, because implementing tools is just one thing, but actually culturally changing the way that people are going to use them and how an average day looks like is going to need time and attention, I would imagine, as well. How is that working for you?
Yes, so I think we can start to see the early signs of that. As we said before, we don't know how this is going to develop, and it's going to be very interesting to be part of that and watch how it develops over the next few years. But you can see that the junior lawyers all of a sudden have their own assistants, so that pushing work up the tree, putting the value of everybody's work up is part of it. I also think there's the scope to be more bespoke on particular pieces of work in a client setting. And I mean, Copilot Studio is a first sort of wave of that, where we can start to create specific AI pieces of capability to solve very specific problems using bespoke content. And I think the result of that is going to be, I suspect, a more multidisciplinary approach to some of our work, where lawyers will still be obviously the most important fee earners on a legal matter, but there will be a growing group of other professionals working alongside them at key points, including legal technology advisors, including project managers, including data scientists, to solve very specific problems on major pieces of work at certain times.
And how are you bringing people on the journey with AI? I'm sure there are some people that think it's fantastic and other people that have a few more reservations. So how are you sort of culturally taking people on the journey?
Because the beauty of this technology is it resonates with people. People want to get the tools in their hands and start to experiment, and they enjoy doing that. So we've had people trying to set some strategic goals for the AI tools, but then we've also had people being given the scope and the empowerment to experiment, and that's been very liberating. And then we've set up AI boards within each of our main business units who are then pulling together. And I think for now we're letting 1,000 flowers bloom, as the saying goes. We'll eventually need to come around to say, right, okay, now we've had these tools for a while, we're going to start to focus down on the areas where we see the greatest value for us and for our client service.
I see, but you're allowing that innovation from the bottom up for people.
Indeed.
And the executives at Clifford Chance, they're playing with it too?
Yes. I wouldn't say all of them, but definitely some of them are. I know this because they ask me questions all the time. I think one of the interesting things, we in the kind of the analysis, we do a word cloud of what people are putting in, and amongst all the legal jargon, one of the biggest words is please. So I think so, which is a nice firm we are, because please could you do this for me?
Please can I have Copilot?
Yeah.
What kind of curiosity and questions are you getting from clients, and what are they interested in about the journey that you're on?
So I think they're very interested in how it improves efficiency. I think many clients are under pressure themselves with their budgets inside their own businesses and are looking for evidence that their trusted advisors are being as efficient as they can, and they've heard about this technology and they are very pleased that we are using this in an active way to become more effective and to deliver better service for them. I think their concern is that their information doesn't find its way into a large language model. So the Azure OpenAI combination, by having the content completely separated from the large language model, having it in a private environment that's encrypted, that's accessible only to Clifford Chance, once we're able to explain that to them, I think that's tremendous reassurance to them. I think in their minds, people are using the consumer version of ChatGPT, which of course we wouldn't ever do for client work.
No, clearly not in the industry you're in. You talked a little bit earlier on about sort of responsible and ethical AI, and obviously given the profession and sector that you're in, that must be very important to your professional standards and reputation and to that of your clients.
Yes.
Do you want to share a bit more on that?
Yes, it is. And actually, before we even publicised the existence of Clifford Chance Assist or Copilot, we spent time with our lawyers, with our risk team, working on, first of all, an AI policy about how we could use AI, a set of AI principles, because it's important to us as a firm. We're obviously held to the highest standards. It's important to our clients. They want to make sure that their trusted advisors are doing things in the right way. But it's also important to our employees. We are very proud of our record on diversity and inclusion, and we don't want to have any nasty surprises coming through from our use of technology. So we want to be very clear about where it's appropriate to use AI and where it's not appropriate to use AI. And I think the reception to that has been very positive, that we've taken that time, we've not rushed it out internally before we've got those things in place. And I think having the Microsoft responsible AI layer has been tremendous reassurance, because people can't go in and do anything too terrible at source, even if they wanted to, which hopefully they wouldn't inside anyway. But having that extra layer has been very good.
Yeah, and I think the responsible AI principles are something that we've held true since those were introduced quite some years ago now, and actually continuing to get feedback from customers such as yourself around what more do you want to see. We're continuing to innovate.
And having the copyright indemnification, I think, as well is very important, because that was also a concern. Obviously, being a law firm, that's also a concern.
Yes, exactly. No, I think we've heard from a lot of customers that that's important. We talked a little bit about culture and people, and one of the fears that employees may have is that AI will take away their jobs. Has that been a question that's come up at Clifford Chance? Are people worried about that?
So it doesn't actually replace anybody's job. What it does hopefully do is take away some of the routine aspects of their role. I think in the long run, what that's going to enable organisations to do is to grow their businesses with greater efficiency. So without adding cost at the same level as their revenue is going to grow. That's our hope.
And hopefully there is some benefits, the makeup of the jobs that people will do, and perhaps they get to do the things that they love a bit more. Perhaps,
yes.
So. And on the topic of skills, as you think about adoption of AI technologies both now and in the future, what do you think the skills that future lawyers and technicians and analysts, etc., working around the legal sector, like what's on your mind when you think about skills development for people?
I think that obviously lawyers are going to need to be more digitally native, but I think that is happening naturally anyway as people come through. I think that's all in train. But I don't think they need to be technology experts, because I think we're going to provide legal technology experts to work alongside the lawyers. I remember a few years ago, people talk about teaching lawyers to code. I think that's all gone now, because kind of coding can be done in English now, thanks to your tools. So I don't think it's that, but I think it'll be being aware of the art of the possible. So being aware of the range of tools that's available, being aware of the policies and principles that go around those, and also the people who are there to support them and work with them. And then, as an organisation, we all need to think about data more, because things like Copilot can be tremendously powerful when you have your data organised. But if you haven't got your data organised, it's not going to be as effective. So that's something we're all going to need to think more about. Data in terms of how it's going to generate the right, accurate responses.
Yeah, and I think that's something, the quality of the data underneath it is about the quality of the Copilot innovation that you'll get, right? So I think that it's very important for many customers. This has got the potential, I think, to sort of change the way that law firms operate. As you stare into your crystal ball for the future, what do you think the future law firm is going to look like?
I still think we'll have a bright future for all law firms. I think law firms have been tremendously resilient organisations over hundreds of years, and the world's getting more complicated. But I think that what we'll see is law firms having more productive, empowered lawyers supported by a growing cadre of professionals that work alongside them to deliver outstanding service to our clients. I think each lawyer will be more productive than they were in the past. The turnaround times will be faster, and that might in itself bring some new pressures to bear. But I think overall it fits into the model we've seen of other waves of technology, which if you go back, our global managing partner talks about his first tasks when he joined Clifford Chance as a young man being to check page numbers. And of course that all went away. And people talk about the days of document comparison tools, where instead of manually checking what you've had back from the other side's lawyers versus the one you send, you have a tool that does that in seconds. All of these things, people say, well, gosh, a lot of work is going away. But all of that time saved was spent on making those documents better. So we didn't do less work, we did more work with the time saved. The documents became better, the standard of risk management became better. And I think that'll be the same for this new generation of tools as well. It will save time, but that time will be used to make the results better for our clients.
That's amazing. Well, hopefully it's an exciting future, that there's more efficiency in there and actually more client centricity as you think about the law firm of the future. So then thank you for the partnership and for sharing a little bit about the digital transformation story at Clifford Chance. We're thrilled to be partnering with you on this journey, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds.
Thank you very much. It's been very interesting. Thank you.